Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we count down the 5 greatest Mad Hatter stories ever told. Wow, this was the hardest video I've ever had to make. I've searched high and low for great Mad Hatter stories, but they're just almost impossible to find. To get the 5 stories, I even had to include ones with the second Hatter, aka the Imposter Mad Hatter. If you don't know who that is, it's the guy in the portrait to Jervis's right on the picture before you. I suggest you check out the video I did on him recently before continuing with this list. A link is in the description. Well anyway, let's quit stalling and get on with the list. Number 5. Unknowing. A 3-parter written by Greg Rucka and penciled by Sean Martinbrough. It was published across Detective Comics 758 to 760 in 2001. In it, cops begin to pull off heists all over Gotham City, starting one of the most bizarre crime waves in the city's history. Naturally, something ain't right, and Batman alongside his appointed bodyguard, Sasha Bordeaux, investigates the case. Together they discover that all of the cops involved in the crimes have been mind-controlled by none other than Jervis Tetch, aka the Mad Hatter. Obviously, who else are we talking about here? For this particular scheme, Tetch refrained from his own demo of using hats, and instead poisoned the coffee that all the policemen drank. However, these heists are just tests to see how well this new compound of his works. The Hatter's true goal is to plunge the city into total chaos by taking over a majority of the police force and having them run amok. I like his scheme here to create chaos. It's a lot better than robbing banks or raping little girls. But still, it is a bit weak. Why Jervis wants chaos and what type of chaos is never really explained. Like I said, great Hatter stories are extremely hard to come by. This one isn't great, but still very good. What I find most impressive about it is the massive scale of the Hatter's plot. I mean seriously, he takes over a large majority of the Gotham PD, sending the entire city into panic. It might be his biggest scheme ever. If you know someone who thinks the Hatter is a small-time loser villain who can't pose a big threat, hand him this comic. Number 4. Madness. A one-shot special released in 1994, this one was written by Jeff Loeb and penciled by Tim Sale, the critically acclaimed team behind The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. In it, Batman is on the trail of the Mad Hatter, who's kidnapped a bunch of kids, leading to a battle between the two, during which the Dark Knight is grazed on the head by a bullet from the Hatter's revolver. This sends Batman into a temporary confused and hallucinogenic state, causing him to relive old memories of his parents. Meanwhile, Jervis stumbles upon a young Barbara Gordon who's run away from home. The madman kidnaps the girl and takes her to his hideout, where Barbara is dressed up as Alice and forced to participate in a mad tea party alongside the rest of the missing children. I'm not the biggest fan of Jeff Loeb's works, but I do really like this one. Yeah, it doesn't explore the character of Jervis Tetch, just like the previous entry didn't, but it does feature what I feel is a pretty good portrayal of the villain. Pretty good as opposed to a guy who rapes children or hats. Yeah, he's done that too. What the fuck is wrong with comic book writers? Here, he just wants to put on a tea party with a bunch of drugged kids. That's crazy and makes no sense, and that's kinda why I like it. Loeb's Hatter is unique in that he only speaks in Alice in Wonderland quotes, something I don't care for in other stories, but here, for some reason, it works. The best part though is that Jervis is made into a more personal foe for Batman. It's established that right before Bruce's parents died, his mother read the Wonderland book to him, so Jervis has corrupted one of Bruce's last happy memories of his parents. Number 3. The Mad Hatter Goes Straight. A one-shot written by David V. Reed and penciled by Rich Buckler. It was published in Batman 297 in 1978. So this one is about the Imposter Mad Hatter, and in the story, fake Jervis has grown bored with committing crimes. He then remembers his childhood, often spent in his father's hat store, where he used to wear various different hats, pretending to be all kinds of historical heroes. Jervis realizes that's how his obsession with headgear originally started, wanting to be a dashing hero, helping people in need. So he decides it's time to exit his detour into crime and finally fulfill his true destiny, namely to become the protector of Gotham City. He keeps an eye out for any crimes or accidents and then rides out to the rescue, donning whichever hat and costume suitable for the situation. However, knocking off his old habit of stealing is a lot more difficult than he had expected. What I love so much about this one is that Jervis is completely genuine about his reform. He truly wants to be a hero and is seriously annoyed that he can't keep himself from stealing. He sees it as a failure as opposed to a triumph and keeps on trying to do it the right and honorable way. This comic is essentially like a villain reform episode from the animated series, and I can't help but wonder if Bruce Timm and company weren't inspired by this issue. They did take a lot of inspiration from the Bronze Age after all. And yeah, this is the first entry on this list that I think is actually great, as opposed to just good. Number 2. The Mad Hatter of Gotham City. Published in Detective Comics 230 in 1956, this one was written by Bill Finger and penciled by Sheldon Moldoff. It's another Imposter Hatter story, and actually the very first one. In it, Jervis Tetch number 2 is introduced as an obsessive and eccentric hat collector. He's added all manner of headgear from various time periods and cultures from all around the world to his collection. However, there's one final item left that he's yet to acquire, which will finally complete his collection: the cowl of Batman. In order to attain it, the Hatter attempts all kinds of zany schemes, trying to trick the Cape Crusader into giving it to him. This is one of my favorite Silver Age Batman comics. It's a really fun and light-hearted story, but it's also quite unique. Most villains either wanted money, world domination, or the defeat of Batman at their hands. But the Hatter wants none of that. This is what makes his tale so special. All Jervis wants is Batman's freaking cowl. He doesn't care about anything else. He's not interested in actually besting Batman or uncovering his secret identity. All he wants is the cowl. That makes him a one-of-a-kind villain and a really entertaining and quirky character. I also absolutely love the ending. Of course I won't spoil it, as you should read the story for yourself, but it's very clever and ironic. And now for the greatest Mad Hatter story of all time. Number 1. Tea Time. The Mad Hatter's Joker's Asylum issue. This one was published in 2010. The writer was Landry Walker and the artist was Keith Giffen. In this one-shot we get a glimpse into the twisted mind of the Mad Hatter as he's trying to rehabilitate himself at home. He's either escaped Arkham or been released. Either way, Jervis is crammed up in his little apartment, supposedly writing a book. Meanwhile, he's trying to refrain from wearing hats and drinking tea. This tea, which may or may not be some sort of drugged tea, that supposedly drives him to insanity. Jervis also obsesses over a pretty blonde store clerk who resembles Alice, and he desperately hopes that she is his precious Alice. Of course, everything gets really ugly in the end, as Tetch eventually succumbs to his tea drinking and hat wearing once again. This is a very strange, bizarre and somewhat surreal story that doesn't spell anything out. I'm not entirely sure what's really going on, but clearly Jervis is struggling against his mental issues and not succeeding very well. He gets obsessed with any pretty blonde woman and wants them to be named Alice, and if they aren't, he freaks out. He's looking for his love, his perfect love, who of course doesn't actually exist. There's nothing pedophilic going on here though, thank God, as these women are all adults. The story is essentially about Jervis's need for companionship, a real relationship, and not a fake one forced on with his mind control technology. It's explained that he hates to have to turn people into zombies in order to get them to be with him. He doesn't want that. He wants someone to actually like him by their own free will. But of course, seeing as he's an antisocial, mentally disturbed, ugly little leprechaun, that's never gonna happen. So it's a very sad story, and you feel for poor lonely Jervis. This is the closest that the comics has ever gotten to the animated series portrayal of the Hatter, although it is quite a bit darker than that version ever got. In my opinion, this is the only comic with the original proper Hatter to be truly great. So there you have it. Those are the 5 best Mad Hatter stories ever told, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments which ones are yours. Of course, the true greatest Hatter story is the Taz episode Mad as a Hatter, and it is really weird that the comic books have never been able to replicate the characterization of Jervis from the show. Anyway, as usual, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.